Okay, so today we're going to do a deep dive into something super practical.
Yeah, it's really going to be like opening up a toolkit.
For sure. For sure. It's all about this book called The Family Therapy Homework Planner.
Second edition, by the way.
That's right, second edition. We
Oh,
got to be precise. This is like version 2 point for families.
exactly. And the authors are Louis J. Bevilacqua and Frank M. Dattilio.
Now, these guys are the real deal. Bevilacqua was a clinical psychologist and a VP at Life Counseling Services.
Huge organization.
And Dattilio, well, he's like a rock star in the field, too. So, these aren't just some random exercises they've put together.
Right. These come from years of working with real families.
Okay, so what's the big idea with this planner? It's packed with ready-to-use assignments.
Homework, basically, things that therapists use to help families between sessions.
Like extra credit for your family life?
Kinda. And you know what's cool? This book is designed to work with another one of their books.
Which one?
The Family Therapy Treatment Planner, also second edition. These guys like sequels.
Makes sense. Keeps things consistent. So the exercises in the homework planner actually line up with the bigger picture treatment goals from the treatment planner.
Exactly. They're all connected. It's a system. And get this, it even comes with a CD-ROM.
A CD-ROM. Like from the 90s?
Yeah, I know, right? But hey, it works. It's got all the assignments in a word processing format, so therapists can easily tweak them for different families.
Kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure for family therapy.
Haha. Yeah, something like that. So for this deep dive, we're going to explore two main things.
Hit me with number 1.
Why family therapy homework has become such a big deal these days.
Because, let's be honest, for a lot of families, adding more stuff to do might feel overwhelming.
Totally. So we got to understand why therapists are saying this is so important for you.
Okay, what's the second thing?
We're going to look at some actual examples of these exercises from the planner.
Give people a taste of what this homework actually looks like.
Exactly. So let's jump into the why first. Why homework? Well, the planner talks about how this whole idea of homework in family therapy, it's really backed up by research now.
It's not just therapists saying, hey, do this. It's like, hey, this actually works.
Right. There's science behind it. It's becoming part of the evidence-based movement in therapy.
So it's not just for those super short-term therapy models. Even therapists who use more traditional approaches are seeing the value.
Exactly. And you know what's really interesting? The book mentions a bunch of studies that show how effective homework can be.
Like real proof for you listening.
Yeah, studies by people like Kellogg and Young-Zinbarg and Griffith.
Catchy names.
And a ton of work by Dattilio himself and his colleagues.
So they're not just making this stuff up. There's data to back it up.
Exactly. And the research shows that homework can really help families in three main ways.
Okay, lay it on me.
It reinforces the skills they learn in therapy, it helps them maintain those skills over time, and it helps them generalize those skills to their everyday lives.
So it's like taking what you learn in therapy and actually using it out in the real world.
Precisely. You know, you can go to the gym and work out with a trainer.
But if you don't keep exercising at home,
You're not going to see the same results.
same thing with therapy. You got to put in the work outside of the sessions.
Right. And that's where homework comes in. It bridges that gap between therapy and real life.
It makes the therapy work harder for you even when you're not in the therapist's office.
Exactly. And you know, another important thing, the planner talks about how homework maximizes those briefer treatments.
Because these days, a lot of therapy is short-term.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. So homework helps you get more bang for your buck in a shorter amount of time.
It extends the therapy process without adding more sessions.
Right. It gives you that continuity between appointments.
And it really energizes the work you're doing in therapy.
It's like a jump start for change.
So for you listening, if you're in therapy and you're feeling stuck, homework could be that extra push you need.
Yeah, it could be a game changer.
And there are other benefits too. Right.
Absolutely. The planner talks about how homework can increase engagement from everyone in the family.
Everyone's got to participate.
Right. It's not just about the person who's identified as having the problem.
Because let's be real, family issues usually involve everyone to some extent.
Exactly. So homework helps everyone take ownership of the situation.
And it empowers them to be part of the solution.
It's not just the therapist telling them what to do. It's a team effort.
And that collaborative approach is huge.
Yeah,
It really strengthens the relationship between the therapist and the family,
totally. It's
Yeah.
like they're all working together towards a common goal.
which is a really powerful dynamic for creating lasting change.
Absolutely. Now, the authors do point out a challenge for therapists.
What's that?
Creating all these homework assignments from scratch, it can be super time consuming.
Especially if you're seeing multiple families a week.
Right. So that's where this planner comes in clutch. It's like a shortcut for therapists.
It gives them a menu of pre-made assignments
Oh,
ready to go.
yeah. They can just photocopy them or adapt them from the CD-ROM.
So efficient, saves them a ton of time and energy.
And that means they can focus more on you and your family's unique needs.
Okay, so we've talked about the why. Now let's get into the what.
The actual exercises.
Right, let's see what this homework actually looks like.
So the book is divided into sections based on different family challenges.
Like a choose-your-own-adventure book, but for therapy.
Haha, I like that analogy. So let's start with the section on activity-family imbalance.
Ooh, that sounds relatable. Who doesn't struggle with that these days?
Right, everyone's so busy. There's one exercise in the section called When Can We Be Together?
This is kind of like a plea for help.
Well, it is, in a way. It addresses that super common problem of finding time for family amidst all the other demands in life.
Work, school, extracurriculars, you name it.
Exactly. And the goals of this exercise are twofold.
Okay, give me goal number 1.
Help families find a better balance between those demands and their need for quality time together.
And goal number 2.
Reduce the tension that often comes from feeling like there's never enough family time.
So how does this exercise actually work?
It's very structured. It takes families through a series of steps.
It's like a roadmap to family harmony.
Something like that. So the first step is for each family member to individually identify and rank their priorities.
What are the most important things to them in terms of how they spend their time?
Right. And then they estimate how much time they currently devote to each priority.
It's like a reality check for your schedule.
Totally. And they also reflect on their feelings about the current amount of family time.
Are they satisfied? Are they feeling resentful?
Exactly. Then they describe how much time they would ideally like to spend together as a family and with individual members.
It's like creating a vision for your ideal family life.
And then finally, the family brainstorms a list of activities they could realistically do together.
Movie nights, game nights, weekend adventures.
Anything that works for them. The key is to make it tangible and doable.
So it's not just complaining about not having enough time, it's actually taking steps to create more time.
Exactly. And you know what's often really eye-opening for people?
Tell me.
When they compare their stated priorities with how they actually spend their time.
Sometimes they don't match up.
Right. It's like, I say family is my top priority, but I'm spending all my time at work.
That awareness can be a big motivator for change.
Absolutely. And what's helpful for therapists is that the planner suggests other homework assignments that might be useful alongside this one.
Like what?
Things like acting as if where you pretend you already have the balance you want.
Interesting.
Or everything is always negative in our house, which focuses on shifting negative communication patterns.
And why can't you understand my side for once, which helps family members practice empathy and perspective taking?
Right. It all depends on the specific dynamics at play in the family.
So it's like a mix and match approach. Therapists can tailor the homework to each family's needs.
Exactly. Okay, so let's move on to another big one, addictions.
Ooh, yeah. That's a tough one.
It is. There's an exercise in this section called How Much Does It Cost?
And I'm guessing it's not just about the financial cost.
You got it. It encourages the person struggling with the addiction to really consider the broader impact of their behavior.
Like the ripple effects.
Exactly. So in this exercise, they focus on a recent instance of their addictive behavior.
A specific time when they engaged in the addiction.
Right. And they think about how much time they spent thinking about it beforehand.
That anticipation. The cravings.
Exactly. Then they consider the actual time spent engaging in the behavior.
How long did they actually spend doing the thing they're addicted to?
Right. Then they think about the immediate physical effects.
How did their body feel?
And how long did those effects last?
Then they move on to the bigger picture stuff. The impact on their work,
Their relationship.
their health,
Yeah.
their ability to make good decisions.
And yeah, the financial cost, too.
So it's really about connecting the dots between the addiction and all these different areas of life.
Exactly. And a crucial part of this exercise is asking what else they could have done with that time and money.
It forces them to consider the opportunity cost.
Right. Like, if they hadn't spent that time and money on the addiction, what could they have done instead?
It highlights the possibilities.
And often people are shocked by how much time they actually dedicate to their addiction when they really break it down.
That awareness can be a real wake-up call.
It can jumpstart the motivation to change.
So for you listening, if you're struggling with an addiction, this exercise can help you see the bigger picture.
It can help you understand the true cost of your addiction.
Okay, so what other exercises are there for addictions?
Well, there's one called What Else Can I Do?
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
This one involves both the person in recovery and their family members.
It's a team effort.
Exactly. So they each get a bunch of index cards.
Okay.
And the family members write down reasons why they hope the recovering person won't relapse.
It's like a message of support and encouragement.
Exactly. And they also write down how they feel when the person is maintaining sobriety.
Expressing their positive feelings about the recovery.
Right. Then the person in recovery writes their own cards with their own reasons for staying clean.
Their own personal motivation.
Exactly. And then in a therapy session, they share these cards with each other.
It's like a vulnerability exercise.
It is. It creates a space for open communication and connection.
And it reinforces that sense of support and accountability.
Absolutely. And again, the planner suggests other relevant homework assignments to use with this one.
Like what?
Well, there's What Am I Thinking?, which helps identify the thoughts and beliefs that contribute to the addiction.
So it's about understanding the cognitive triggers.
Exactly. And there's Creating a Positive Outlook, which focuses on building coping skills and finding healthy ways to manage stress and negative emotions.
Because let's be real, life throws curveballs at everyone. And if you don't have healthy coping mechanisms...
You're more likely to turn to the addiction.
Exactly. And the planner also mentions that therapists might use standardized inventories to assess the severity of the addiction, like a quiz to see where you fall on the spectrum.
Yeah, it helps them understand the specific needs of the person and the family.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about anger management.
Another common challenge for families.
Definitely. There's an exercise called, is it passive-aggressive or assertive?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It sounds like it's all about communication styles.
You got it. The goals are to help family members learn the difference between these three styles.
Passive-aggressive, assertive.
Right. And to help them identify their own typical communication patterns.
So does it work?
First, each person defines what each communication style means to them.
In their own words.
Exactly. Then they come up with examples of each style.
Like from their own life or from things they've observed.
Right. Then for the next week, they track their own behavior in situations where they tend to get angry.
Like those trigger points.
Exactly. They note whether they responded in a passive-aggressive or assertive way.
And they think about why they responded that way.
Right. And if they weren't assertive, they brainstorm how they could respond differently next time.
It's like practice for real-life situations.
Exactly. And the planner actually mentions some resources that can help with this.
Like what?
There's Dr. Weisenberger's Anger Workbook and the work of Emmons and Alberti on assertiveness training.
So if you're really struggling with anger, there are tools out there to help you.
Absolutely. And what's cool about this exercise is that it helps people become more aware of their communication patterns.
Which is a key part of learning to manage anger.
It's about recognizing your triggers and developing healthier ways of responding.
There's also an anger management exercise specifically for kids and teens.
Oh, yeah. Why am I so angry?
It sounds age-appropriate.
It is. It helps younger people understand their anger in a way that makes sense to them.
So how does it work?
They keep track of the things that trigger their anger for a week.
What sets them off?
Right. And they also track their reactions, both their thoughts and their behaviors.
And what they do when they get angry.
Exactly. And they pay attention to how they feel after they've been angry.
It's all about helping them connect the dots between the trigger, the reaction, and the aftermath.
Exactly. And the goal is to identify the most common reasons for their anger.
So they can start to develop strategies for managing those triggers.
Right. And the planner suggests using other exercises alongside this one.
Like that.
Things like My Safe Place, which helps them create a mental space where they can calm down.
It's like a mental vacation from the anger.
Exactly. And Creating a Positive Outlook, which helps them focus on the good things in their life.
Because when you're focused on the negative, it's easier to get angry.
Right. So these exercises work together to help kids and teens manage their anger in healthy ways.
Okay, let's move on to another big one. Communication problems.
Ugh, don't even get me started.
Right. Like who hasn't experienced that in their family?
Seriously. There's an exercise in this section called How Can I Talk So He'll Listen?
Ooh, that's a classic.
It is. And it speaks to a very real frustration that a lot of people feel.
Like you're talking, but no one's hearing you.
Exactly. So this exercise is designed for all family members to participate in.
Everyone gets involved.
Right. And it's all about practicing effective communication skills.
Like how to speak clearly and how to listen actively.
Exactly. It's about taking turns being the speaker and the listener.
Okay, so what are the rules for the listener?
They have some very specific guidelines to follow. The first one is to focus on paraphrasing what they've heard the speaker say.
So it's not just nodding and pretending to listen. You actually have to repeat back what you heard.
Right. It ensures that you're really paying attention.
Right.
And the second guideline is to maintain eye contact with the speaker.
Showing that you're present and engaged.
Exactly. And the third guideline is to give the speaker your undivided attention.
No checking your phone or multitasking.
Right. It's about creating a space where the speaker feels heard and respected.
Right.
And the fourth and final guideline for the listener is probably the most important.
What's that?
Don't interrupt. Don't offer your own opinions or interpretations.
Just listen.
Exactly. Just try to understand the speaker's perspective without adding your own 2 cents.
That's so hard for some people.
It is, but it's crucial for effective communication.
Okay, so what about the speaker? What are the guidelines?
Well, the first one is to use I statements.
Instead of you statements.
Exactly. It's about taking responsibility for your own thoughts and feelings without blaming or accusing the other person.
It's less likely to put the listener on the defensive.
Exactly. And the second guideline is to speak in short bursts.
Like 2 to 3 minutes at a time.
Right. And then pause and ask the listener to repeat back what they heard.
It's like a built-in check-in to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. And this back and forth, this reflective listening, it's the heart of effective communication.
It ensures that the message is being received as intended.
Right. And finally, when the speaker is finished sharing their thoughts, it's important for them to summarize the main points of the conversation.
Just to make sure everyone has a clear understanding of what was discussed.
Exactly. So this whole exercise, it's really about practicing those core communication skills.
Speaking clearly, listening actively, taking turns, expressing yourself respectfully.
Exactly. It's like a workout for your communication muscles.
And the authors recommend practicing this in therapy first.
Yeah, with the therapist there to guide and provide feedback.
It's like a safe space to try out these new skills.
And then once they've got the hang of it, they can start using these techniques at home.
Maybe even record themselves to see how they're doing.
That can be really helpful for identifying patterns and areas for improvement.
So this planner, it really does cover a lot of ground.
It does. We've only scratched the surface here.
Just to give you an idea of the scope, there are sections on adoption, anxiety, behavioral problems, bipolar disorder, blaming behaviors, blended families, death and loss dependency, depression, disengagement, eating disorders, reconciliation, after estrangement, family business conflicts, family of origin interference, financial conflict, geographic relocation, inheritance, disputes, intolerance and defensiveness, jealousy and insecurity, living with chronic illness, multiple birth dilemmas, physical disabilities, physical, verbal, and psychological abuse, interfaith conflicts, schizophrenia, school problems, separation and divorce, sexual abuse, sexual preferences, suicide attempts, and unwanted or unplanned pregnancies.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
I know, right? It's a lot, but it shows you just how comprehensive this resource is.
It really highlights the wide range of challenges that families can face.
And how targeted homework assignments can be a valuable tool for addressing those challenges.
Exactly. So this planner, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
It's a collection of tools that therapists can use to create a personalized approach for each family.
And that's the beauty of it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the key takeaway for our listeners?
The big picture here is that family therapy homework, it's not just busy work.
It's an evidence-based approach to strengthening families.
It's about taking the work you do in therapy and extending it into your everyday life.
It's about empowering families to create positive change.
And it's about building a stronger, more connected family unit.
And the best part is that the exercises in this planner, they're not set in stone.
Right. They're designed to be flexible and adaptable.
Therapists can use the CD-ROM to customize the assignments for each family's specific needs and circumstances.
Exactly. So it's a truly personalized approach to family therapy.
And that brings us to our final thought for you listening.
Hit us with it.
As you've been listening to us talk about all these different exercises, what area of family dynamics stood out to you the most?
Which one resonated with your own experiences or the experiences of people you know?
And how could you use some of these ideas, maybe not the exact exercises, but the concepts behind them?
To improve your own family relationships.
It's about being intentional and proactive.
It's about taking those first steps towards creating the family life you want.
So what are you waiting for?
Get out there and start building those stronger family connections.
Your family will thank you for it.
And so will your therapist.
Until next time, happy deep diving.
Catch you later.
Bye.